Hi, and welcome back to the channel, guys. We are continuing Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is Book 3, Chapter 8, titled The Puppetmaster. Kankuro? And now I remember the name. If you've seen our Naruto reactions, I always forget his name and just call him the Puppetmaster outright. It's not gonna be that guy, obviously. So yeah, we're probably going to meet someone called the Puppetmaster, and in the last one, we got acquainted with the Runaway, which that was just tough, and then her pulling scams on the scammers, and then some innocent people as well, and yeah, we got all that resolved, and the stuff with Katara and Tough, and Katara being the mother of the group and everything, and yeah, so far so good with this season. It's been like all of the episodes we really enjoyed, and some of you have been telling us that this episode we're getting into now, that's at least one that you've been looking forward to, and seeing our reactions to it and everything. So with that out of the way, are you ready to jump into it?
I tried to
Yeah.
go for something Fire Nation colory, but it looks so dark in the viewfinder. So it's just yeah. Well, I tried to get something very like red, but
Yeah,
I
Fire
I
Nation
missed.
colors again.
Yeah,
It is red. It's just very dark
it's
red.
very dark red, yeah, and it looks almost black on the screen. So,
Yeah. But
yeah.
then you have your very red lips, at least.
Yes.
So yeah, there's that. And I have just like maybe some Fire Nation colors here. It's like it's something.
Well, it's Targaryen, so it
Oh
is
yeah, it
fire.
is. Like that's Daenerys right there from Game of Thrones. Oh no, there's a little bit of green in her hair. That might mess up stuff on the. Well, you'll see if it does. It's yeah. Never mind. Let's jump into it. And you can of course always check out our full length reactions where you can sync up the footage with your own copy of the episode. We also have early reactions for Avatar: The Last Airbender. We are 2 weeks ahead. It's all over on Patreon, and you can find the link down in the description below. And here we go. That was definitely a pretty dark episode. Whew, the Puppetmaster. That was, yeah, hammer. Bloodbending. We've been talking about
Yeah, we
that
have.
whole thing before, with like, because theoretically, waterbenders should be able to manipulate the water inside of other people's bodies.
Yeah.
Because we are largely, made up of water.
Hmm.
And they used it in this one, not in the way that we've been talking about it. That was maybe more in a like very deadly pulling the water out of someone kind of deal, and then just killing them outright. But here we then learn about the blood bending, which is just bending the water inside of someone's body and controlling them like a puppet. And you can apparently only really do this during a full moon. So you need, as a waterbender, you need a lot of power to do so, which that also makes sense. That it's not something that they can do all the time.
Also, you have to take control of someone else's body, and that must take like a huge amount of power to do that.
Yes, because they are going to be fighting it.
Exactly.
So it's not just like bending any other type of like any other type of water bending, or even something like pulling water out of the thin air, which that was pretty cool as well. And it also makes a lot of sense that you can do that as a water bender. And it just shows me that water bending is one of, if not the most deadly type of bending almost. Exactly, because you can control what's inside of other people, and that's that goes for everyone. If like doesn't matter if you are a waterbender, earthbender, airbender, firebender, you're a person and you have water inside of your body, so they can manipulate that. But the way this episode was kind of structured, it was quite the roller coaster. Because at first it was like, oh, something weird is going on, something scary. And then they meet this nice old woman and she's being very kind to them, but there's something off about her. And then we find out that, oh, she's from the Southern Water Tribe, just like Katara. And like there's a definite link there. And that made us and the gang trust her a little bit more. But Sokka, being Sokka, and he's always very curious about stuff, and he's not always too not always trusting other people. he still thought that something was amiss, and he was right. And that, of course, led them to find the comb that then revealed that she was from the water tribe. But they were still very curious about this spirit that was abducting people in the forest, and they kept on looking into that. And then they ended up talking to this old guy, Ding. And they and what Tough said earlier about hearing voices beneath the mountain, that yeah, they found out that there were indeed people under the mountain, and they were trapped, and they weren't abducted by some spirit. It was an old witch, and then everything became clear. And it was happening while Hama was explaining to Katara, all the stuff about bloodbending, and then all the creepiness just came right back, and she turned out to be, yeah, real fucking creepy.
But this episode kind of continued this whole thing with this whole thematic where they are changing, our gang is changing one area, one city, one town at a time. And they, as waterbenders and like foreigners, actually saving this town. And this time it was from one of their own, even. It was from another waterbender, and a very powerful one at that. And of course, there's the whole existentialistic thing of the bloodbending and Katara and everything, but I just wanted to very quickly brush on the whole, them trying to save Fire Nation and how they differ, like the old Hammer, how she differ in mind from Katara, and it's like she was so vengeful, and she, of course, you can only sort of like sympathize that of course it has been very hard for her to be locked away in a prison just to rot for the rest of her life, and seeing all of her brothers and sisters rotting away the same, and and of course holding a lifelong grudge against the Fire Nation.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that she would want to, maybe not, she wants to exact revenge, but it's because she was mistreated in such a way, and being abducted, and as you're saying, like just put in a cell to fucking rot. But she then figured out how to get out of it in a way, and using waterbending in a way that's not the usual way that you do it.
And it's horrible. It's a horrible way to do it.
Yeah. And you could see like someone like Katara, she immediately was like, I don't want to do that. That's not the type of bending I even want to learn, because that's horrible and very invasive, just controlling someone like that. But she was willing to do anything to get out of that prison. And I think many people would, if they had that ability to, after being imprisoned for such a long while and mistreated and everything, like if they could get out of it in some way, they would. And you don't have a lot of love for your captors either way. But she just took it a step further and decided that she wanted revenge on everyone in the Fire Nation. And it doesn't matter if you are the person who locked her up or the people who locked her up, or if you're just a citizen of the Fire Nation. She will get her fucking revenge on you no matter what. And she just started imprisoning people to let them rot away. I don't know if she was even feeding them or anything, but they were alive, all of them. So it must have happened fairly recently that she started abducting people, although she can only do it during the full moon, and that's once a month. So she must have been feeding them a little bit at least. Either way, she exacted revenge on people who definitely did not deserve it. And then what you said about the gang, moving from area to area in the Fire Nation and actually doing good, and just seeing the people there as people. And that was also part of the lesson that Aang learned from the whole Avatar and the Fire Lord episode, and looking back through time, that we have to treat everyone equally, even if they are like the Fire Lord himself or from the Fire Nation. Like, we have to try and save everyone, and we can't just condemn these people just because they are of the Fire Nation. And they are definitely, keeping true to that, and saved a lot of people in this episode.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. And it was very clear that what kind of person that Katara is.
Mm.
She's very she does not want to have this power, have this control over people, because um also when you have already learned it, then
It's kind of hard
I
to unlearn.
it's hard to unlearn, but it's also might you come to a point in your life where you resort to it, and
It could happen. It could happen.
exactly, and that point in life, would you rather, sacrifice your own integrity as a person,
Mm.
or would you, yeah, or would you see yourself become uh not evil, but again resorting to these.
Yeah, yeah. Would you sacrifice your integrity and become what you're basically fighting against, and someone who's like being invasive towards other people and stuff like that? Because that is what the Fire Nation have been doing. Like they're trying to, like they're invading and they're conquering and they are
I see.
controlling people
Yeah.
just as a nation. So what Hama was doing as a waterbender, trying to fight this, like she was fighting fire with fire in a way, no pun intended there, but it's still in such a way that, okay, now we are just as bad. Like you are just as bad as the Fire Nation in the way that you are being invasive and controlling people. And Katara obviously do not want to do that because she can see how wrong it is, but she still did it, and she, in the end, there felt very, very bad about it, like that she had to do it to stop this person from hurting her friends. And that's the balance, I guess, you like that they're always dealing with, and that you see heroes and stuff like dealing with in any form of entertainment is, we don't want to lose ourselves along the way. We don't want to lose our humanity, and doing something like bloodbending, that is, yeah, that will do it.
I immediately thought of Allison from the Umbrella Academy,
Mm,
and how she used her power. I heard a rumor power on
mm,
on her daughter, and I'm
yeah.
sorry if I'm spoiling anything.
Spoiler. Yeah. Sorry.
And I couldn't help but just think of Allison, and how, even though she really did not want to use the power, at a certain point she just couldn't help herself.
Mm.
And I think that was perhaps the realization that Katara went through, that it was just like, well,
If I start down this path,
yeah,
then
and she might, end up, maybe she saw herself in Hama,
mm,
just like 60, 70
yes,
years down the road or
yeah, yeah.
something, and being so afraid of, if she's using this power, is she going to be this monster? And this control, like in controlling people, it gets, so easy, like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, and you could see someone like Hama, like she probably went through a lot to do it the first time, and it was like, when she controlled that god and did it the first time, it must have been very harrowing for her as well. But then she kept on using it, and maybe like she abducted the first person. And that may have been someone who was mistreating her. I'm just theorizing right now. It
Mm.
may have been someone who was mistreating her, and she was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna use this power that I used to escape on this person
Mm.
as well. Where do I put that person?" And then she found some place to imprison him or her, and she, like, now she did it once, and then she started doing it again and again and again, and it just became like a, yeah, this is what I'm doing now. It's such a natural part of me being a bloodbender. And she was even like, yeah, for Katara, she saw it as a victory, like Hama did in the end,
Mm.
that like her job is done. I did what I wanted to do. I passed on the bloodbending to another waterbender who
Mm.
can then keep on using it. So it's just, in her mind, she kind of won, because she knows that her and Katara, they are kind of maybe similar in a lot of ways. So she's thinking that now that Katara used bloodbending once, she's going to use it again, just like I did. So I started her down this path that I've been on for a long time. So the same is going to happen to her, which we hope not. But yeah, the risk is there, and I think Katara knows that as well.
I think Katara even said it, like, just because the Fire Nation has abducted and pillaged and raided and put people into prison, they even took our own mother away from us. She still had this, well, they don't deserve this. They don't deserve being bloodbended. These completely strangers, they just like Fire Nation people, and they have not done anything. And even if they had, she would still want to be the better person. Like, she wants to rule with kindness and goodness and, fairness, and not resort to Fire Nation standards. And that's exactly what Hammer did. Like, she was, as she was so very correctly to do, is like Hammer kind of fought fire with fire, and that's not what Katara wants to. She wants to fight fire with water, and the healing abilities of water.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was very interesting seeing how we're always basically fighting Fire Nation, or like Fire Nation. Like, the enemy's usually the Fire Nation, and suddenly it was actually one of their own. And sometimes it's much easier for you to just see, let your guards down when it's some of your own, and you might perhaps let them get away with more, or even like find reason in what they're doing. But I just thought it was very powerful of Katara just still stick to her ground and say, hey, you're wrong. You might be a waterbender, but this is wrong. And I just thought it was such a strength of character thing to say. And yeah, I just thought it was a very nice point from the creators as well, that just because they might be one of your own doesn't mean that you have to
give them a free pass on whatever they're doing. No.
And that you will treat them just as you would treat like another enemy, or
anyone else. Like,
exactly.
if you see someone doing something wrong, you intervene. Doesn't matter if they're from the Fire Nation or if they're from the Water Tribe, or if it's your
friend, your family,
your ally, your enemy, whoever it is. If you see them doing something wrong, you intervene. Or if you see someone who's being mistreated, it doesn't matter either if they are from the Fire Nation or one of your allies. Like, it's just treating people as people, no matter where you are. And that's, once again, back to that whole lesson. So yeah, all in all, another great episode. Kind of spooky in parts. That was a new thing. That's not something they're always, using in this show, is kind of like horror elements. But they used it in this one, and to great effect as well. But that's going to do it for this reaction and review of Avatar: The Last Airbender, Book 3, Chapter 8, The Puppetmaster. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and we'll see you very soon. Bye.
Bye.